is finally here. The ending of Tokyo Ghoul Red. After 6 years, 7 years, whatever years, and I have been reading this series since 3 years ago. And it's quite amazing because I remember a long time ago where a lot of fans were like such hyped with this series. I remember I wanted to see something. I wanted to read something different because I was at the time that I only was limited to very few series. A lot of fans were telling me to read this, watch this, or anything about Tokyo Ghoul. Take a look at this. So I thought to myself, all right. So I decided to do, and I read the entire Tokyo Ghoul in a less than a week. It was an amazing experience. I still remember to this day how I was constantly wanting to read the next chapter so badly, and everything about it was so good. Everything from the characters, from the story, it was just amazing experience. Then we got to Tokyo Ghoul Red, and I had to wait like everyone else for every weekly basis. I remember it was up to chapter 20, and when I got there, I was like, oh damn, I shouldn't have read it the whole thing. So yeah, that was a problem in my hand. But I should have just held up. But seriously, it was an amazing ride. Now that Tokyo Ghoul Red has ended, what do I think about the conclusion and the overall series? Well, if we take into account that this series has truly ended here and there will be no other part. Now, I will mention about the third part later on, but let me get to this opinion of mine. I would say this. It is a little disappointing that he has to rush for whatever reason. Either he was given time limit or he was actually tired out. So he was telling himself, I had to finish this now. I wanted to not only satisfy the fans, but I need my rest. When it comes to like anything that's like a very prominent moment, such as Kaneki's development, such as other characters' development, like when it gets highlighted significantly, when they get highlighted, it's incredible. It's one of the incredible stuff. When those moments happen, that's where Ishida truly shines. As I said before, Ishida shines when it comes to going in depth of the characters, into mental state, whatever the case may be. When it comes to like a group in a very large state, like a war zone with the V organization, it can tend to speed up a lot. That's what happened with the last couple of chapters or the last volume of Tokyo Ghoul Red. While you could say that's a bad thing, it's not entirely that awful because like it could be seen like one of those kind of Skyrim thing where like, oh, it's a buggy mess, but the gameplay is so phenomenal. I could forgive this. That's how I feel about Tokyo Ghoul. I'm not saying it becomes flawless. Don't make mistake. It is a flawed series. Every series has their own flaws. There are a lot of lore that's really interesting, and it's a little bit disappointing that it doesn't get explored. Looking back now, there are lores that are just meant to be out of shell. That just says like, this happened before in 2,000 years ago, whatever like that. And that'll be the end of it. If you want to go in depth, maybe it would be nice to ask for a novel. But in terms of how prominent it is necessary for the storyline, it doesn't really have that much. So that's why you could see people argue like, we don't really need third part. And selfishly, I did want a third part for that case. But you could handle it in a novel, or it would just handle just as it is. It's just you read the outer shell of it and there will be nothing more to it. So, you can see that as a bummer or not. At least that's the way how I see it. Is that a bad thing? It's debatable, but I thought the ending was good. And it was a nice ending. It's funny because I would never thought I would say that for Tokyo Ghoul, since, Tokyo Ghoul has been a tragic one way or another. But it is nice, and it does feel rewarding. You know how long we have to wait for a good ending for this series? You always have drawbacks, tragic downfall, something that's like, oh, can we just get one good ending? Not like everything is always a train wreck. This is it, and it actually ends up being the final end, which is actually appropriate if you ask me. I mean, like, a lot of series does rebound, even if it's a seinen genre. I have read other series that have rebound with a good ending. By good, I mean like very happy, nothing like so tragic. To Ishida's credit, he has left things open that bad things are still going on, including Ryo, who is actually alive, but now he has a Kaga job and he's still roaming Terra, so that's never concluded. But that's the point. It just tells you that life is going to be still ongoing problem one way or another. You don't have V, that's fine. You don't have period clowns roaming around, that's fine too. But you're gonna have some evil problems. You're gonna have dragon orphans, which is a new thing now. On one hand, it benefit for those guys because they have the medicine, so that was nice. And it makes sense because Kano dropped a huge hint that they could provide a special medicine that can actually benefit greatly for human. On the other hand, there's a problem, and then they still cause, like problem for the entire Tokyo. And you can see that not everything will be completely happy. It's just more works to be done. But it doesn't have to have a new arc, a new part, in order to focus on that. It just tells you that this is the thing they had to live by from the rest of their life. At least that's how they interpreted it. Now, when it comes to ending for the characters, I thought it was neat that Ishida managed to conclude every single character he can do. The only disappointing part is the lack of Almon and Akira. That one was surprising because I was waiting for their conclusion. I was waiting for what they're going to do next, what they're going to do for the rest of their life. It was just only said in one line, and that's it. That's the ending. Is strange. I guess it connects with Takizawa, Kurona, and Tomoe. Well, Tomoe is doing well because she's, she created a new faction. So that's actually appropriate. Takizawa disappeared, according to what was said. Corona disappeared eventually as well. And Almon Akira just didn't have anything. That was really strange. Another one that's noticeable absent is Eto. A lot of people like to argue that she probably did die in the last chapter. And you know what? That could be true. But I think a clarification would have been nice. I mean, it's not hard to believe. Almon Akira didn't really get like a box that's described what they're doing right now. It just disappeared. It was kind of strange. Now, again, it could be just open for interpretation, or it could be that she has died, and that's the reason why there's no cover for her. That's possible. Maybe you had to ask Ishida about it, or maybe Ishida did it on purpose. I don't know. Every other character, they all get to the resolution. When it comes to the character that gets like the most highlighted, like get penalized significantly, like Suzuya or the Q Squad, those were the ones that really pay off so dearly. And in my opinion, the Suzuya one is the one that hit me the most because it has that sentimental story. Patience is key. Redemption is key. Suzuya, he went through the amazing phase of change, amazing development, from the character who was like pretty much like a psycho kid. And now he has been calm. He has made a team. He has been recognized as a really great man. And so all those payoff, all those patience, it comes to the fact that Shinohara has finally come back to life. And no, he wasn't really dead. But when I say come back to life, I mean, not only he's able, but he's actually talking normal. He's actually has his intelligence. Everything is normal again. So seeing Suzuya just cry into tears and just feels like he has been rewarded, that type of story was truly worth reading the ending. That's where they really got to me. And it's really nice to see the Q Squad, not everybody, but you get the idea that the Q Squad are still doing their thing. The new generation is going up and up is necessary now, especially the fact they still have problems on the loose, which is cool that we get to see more characters, even if we won't see them if there's no third part or any spinoff or anything like that. But it's still nice to understand that things are still going on, that things are like still developing. There's never like it stops there and everybody would just like take a break. They also mentioned they have a new faction, the TSC. The CCG is no longer there. I think that's what they say, or it's just the shell former self is pretty much gone. A lot of characters go to the different ways. Like Hiroko, he's pretty much living a normal life. Another thing I actually like as well is Uri meeting with Shirazu's sister, which is great that they actually mentioned about Shirazu's sister. One thing I like about the ending, despite the fact that he has to rush the end part, as in the fighting, the final climax of battle, the whole thing when it comes to trying to have a closure for every character and cram it into 36 pages, that is a really good job of him to manage to do everything in one pages. Like he has to be descriptive. Wall of text out of all the Tokyo Ghoul chapters, at least to my knowledge. It is necessary and it actually is neat that Ishida actually took his time and explored as much as he can for us to be satisfied. Whether we are satisfied or not, At least you got a credit to him to try to cram every detail for every character. It goes to show you that he made so many characters. A lot of them were really fun, interesting, and really compelling. Sometimes I like to see a little bit more depth of one character's ending, but it would do. Some of them will do. As I said before, when it comes to like the one highlighted moment, like with Uri and Shirazu's sister, or Shizuya and Shinohara moment, those were the phenomenal piece because they were highlighted so much. And when it comes to those moments, that's where Ishida truly shines. So in a sense, I guess I would selfishly want other characters to get that highlighted moment. A lot of things has been explored, and for something that has to be said and done, it's still good. At least it connects to their characters. I did like the poking tease or whatever you could call it with Ayato and Hinami. Obviously, they're going to get that relationship started really soon, but Ayato is being stubborn because, he's Ayato. So yeah, he's actually fine. I guess you could say this time skip is a dodgy way to not to explain how they survive or anything like that, which is a lot of writers does do that, but what can you do? They're fine, which is fine. And yes, Kaneki is in fact alive and well and happy. That double page spread reminds me of Oyasumi Ponpon in some way. I won't go into greater detail, but I do recommend you should read that series. That series, well, just make sure your mind is in a stable state because that thing is a really, yeah. But anyway, back to Tokyo Ghoul. When seeing that double page spread, it was very heartwarming. It was very rewarding because now Kaneki can finally relax, can finally smile, and can finally get his happy ending. Something that we have been waiting since the beginning of the series. And that's a huge credit to Ishida because I really care about the main characters so much, the protagonist so much. I care about these characters a lot. So seeing them in a happy ending, it was really nice nod how Musuki and Toka are still trying to reconcile, or they already have, but it's really nice that she really still owes up a lot of favor to Toka. So with the sign of gratitude with the apple, that was a nice way to say that Musuki has accepted and move on from love life. She's no longer mentally insane, which is great. I like the fact we got to see the daughter of Kaneki and Toka. So yeah, they have the daughter. Good for them. I like how Shu was taking care of the child. I hope he's really not thinking about eating them in the future because, he did say something about that, but that's a different story. It was nice to see a lot of characters that still comes by to meet Kaneki, like good friends that include Saiko, Shu, Nishiki, Ayato, Hinami. It's such a nice feeling. It's a really nice feeling to see these characters to interact without having to kill each other, without any tragic on the way. Anything that's just like, oh, another fiasco. Here we go again. So by the end, when it comes to the clear sky, I thought that was a really nice shot. It's really heartwarming. It feels like you are finally accomplished. You finally got that ending that you have been seeking for. A lot of seinen manga has a good ending. It doesn't have to be completely tragic. I think people are spoiled because certain series that got mainstream as a seinen manga does end up getting some bad ending, but there are really great one that even has a good ending. And I won't even say it because I don't want to spoil your surprise. But there are some good ones. And again, in Tokyo Ghoul, in some way it balanced out because there's some good and there's some bad. The bad part is the trouble is still there. So yeah, nothing is 100% peace. It's not that shonen. But yeah, I really like the ending in terms of the protagonist because that's what it matters. Like the protagonist get his ending, get the nice bittersweet ending that he deserves. The fact that I'm still attached to the protagonist is a great sign of accomplishment. So I was happy to see how it ended. I was happy to see a lot of characters get the closure. Not so happy that some are left out for some reason. That's a little surprising. Now, the volume is supposed to have more pages, so maybe it will input more parts for that series. Maybe. I can't guarantee. Maybe it could just be filled with omakis. I did find it amazing how Naki and Misa not only got together, but they have 9 children. That's historical. And what's more historical is a lot of them were twins, I believe. I think Ishida had really fun to do that. And I think that's the reason why he brought him back, just to do this kind of comedy, which I give him credit. It is pretty funny. But yeah, Ishida is a known guy that he likes to do comedy. I mean, he likes Gintama. That tells you everything, right? So yeah, there's not much to say. I mean, that's a lot to say because the closure has every single detail for a lot of character. You know, I really enjoyed the entire series. I really like the ride. It's one of my favorite series. And I'm a bit bummed that I didn't plan to have like a tribute video. And I actually did have one for the other series, which, you know, I was cool with it, but I'm not the biggest fan. Here, I'm pretty much a fan of the series, and I have no plans for the tribute video. It just kind of sucks. So I should have just planned this ahead. But maybe because I was selfishly want a third part. Maybe because I didn't expect the series was going to end here. You know, a lot of series you could tell is going to end because not only there's no parters, but they're just going to be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to end here. It's like, oh yeah, okay. Like for me, honestly speaking, I'm already prepared for a tribute video for another series, but I didn't expect Tokyo Ghoul would end first before that one, so go figure. Now again, is there a chance for a third part? I'll say this, it's optional. There is a room for it. He purposely has a room for it. And I did like the fact that Hide and Kaneki had that one nice talk about one thing about life. If he has done the right thing, if this is for the best, is this for the worst? We don't know. But the thing is, he's going to keep on moving. He's going to keep on fighting because that's just life is. You move forward. You could say that's an open space for a third part. It's not mandatory. It's an optional thing. If it doesn't happen, that's completely fine. It's fine because it at least ended before it gets really crazy in terms of like what happened to the story. I mean, it would be nice because now you could have a very center focus rather than being open war zone like what happened in the final arc or the last phase of the final arc. It's an optional thing. It doesn't have to be mandatory. The reason why I'm saying this because a lot of series tend to do this and they tend to go back and open up more to the story and you could explore more, especially with Kaneki. You could still explore Kaneki, honestly speaking. You could explore how he is as the father, how he is as a guy who cooperates with the TSC and the Dragon Orphan stuff. There's still many possibilities, but they're not mandatory because unlike Rei, when Tokyo Ghoul ended, the part 1 that is, when it ended, we need a justification with a lot of things because the character was going to end on an undeveloped note, and it was gonna be like, what? That's it? That's how it's gonna end? Serious awful. So instead, we got Red to conclude a lot of things. Now you could say the same thing for we need third part to conclude a lot of things, but that's just lore speaking. That's not really speaking about these characters who doesn't have really closure. These characters did have closure. Some characters highlight are great, some characters are just said and done, but you don't need a third part. It's all done right there. But you never know. Maybe there will be an epilogue that would say like, hey, third part is happening. Told you so. I mean, 6 years has passed. I think 6 years. I'm not sure how many years has passed. I believe it's 6 years. That many years has passed, right? And I guess you could say it opened a lot of new enemies and a lot of new things, especially when you explore to different country regions, which some character in the closure have said they have went to Europe and stuff like that. So you never know. You never know. If it doesn't happen, that's fine with me. If it does happen, well, fire it away. Let's not forget, there's a lot of series that came back after a couple of years, including Cardcaptor Sakura and apparently Code Geass. I won't spoil you here, but all I know is before third season was announced, it was most definitely completed. To me, I think Ishida really wanted to end it. He has been tired out. And not only tired out, but he has done a lot for this series. He has come to the conclusion that he doesn't have to explore much in depth of the lore anymore now that he has settled the main core, especially with Furuta. Furuta was pretty much the climax. He was the final boss, and the finish the fight aspect was the whole reason thing because she was not meant to be the final boss. She was meant to be the last obstacle, if that makes any sense. So that was the case, and that's fine because Kaneki, the protagonist, got his fulfilled. The last thing I want to do is to not care about him at all, and that would be a bad thing. But in that regard, since we have concluded with me feeling so happy for his accomplishment, I'll say this ending is a job well done, as well as the overall series. A lot of people like to say the last arc got a little bit messy. It kind of did get messy in some part, but at least it ended before it got worse, right? You got to give him credit where his credit due. And I got to say the overall series has been a hell of a ride. I still like the series a lot. I'm still going to collect all the volumes. I'm still going to get a lot of things that pay my tribute to Ishida's. I still think Ishida is still one of the nicest, kind, and smart writer mangaka out there right now. Maybe he could have done a little bit more with Tokyo Ghoul, maybe, but he did a lot. I thought the ending was pretty good for something that has been rushed to this core. I thought it was nice that he has tried his best to cram everything in. Somehow, it's a little bit surprising that some characters didn't get the closure despite how big they are. Like Alma and Akira, that was surprising, but maybe the volume, he will fill it in. Like, oh, this is their ending officially. We'll see. But for everything else, I truly enjoyed this series. I wish I was prepared for a tribute video, but will I still do it? Maybe. I don't know. I'll think about it. This series was one of the best things I have read. It has been a blast. It's not flawless, nothing is, but I'm truly going to miss this series a lot. But I'm definitely going to read Ishida's next work when that day comes. That's all my review, more or less. This is more like a lowdown of my reflection of the series as a whole. But yes, this is definitely well worth reading. You may feel a little bit jumpy on the last part of the story, but at least it ended before it got really crazy. So that's a good thing. And when it comes to the highlighted moment, like Kaneki's development, some of the personal fighting aspect, they really are phenomenal. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but time will tell. If you like this and want more of this, despite that, well, Tokyo Ghoul has ended, for now that is, subscribe to my channel for other content such as Gintama and many more. And my world will be yours to stay. Until next time, take care. And thank you, Ishida, for this wonderful journey.